शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। So thank you Nitinji for giving me this opportunity to share my views on the contemporary relevance of Tarka Shastra. So in anyone's life, the journey of life depends on two things. One is worldview, and the other one is values, essentially. So our worldview decides the values, and our life further evolves around those values. So values here doesn't mean I do not only mean by moral values or anything. Elements that we actually give value to. So if we actually see no subject or object in the cosmos inherently have any value, we give them value. Why is gold valuable than silver or iron? Is because we decided so. Or else majority of the people are giving value to gold more compared to iron, and we do not contradict with that particular viewpoint, and we also attest the same value that is being popular out there. In the same way, whether we value relationships over prosperity or not, so these all things actually depend on how we give value to them. So if you give value to your parents, then the decisions that you take in your life will be considered based on that particular value that you give to your parents. So these values are dependent on the worldview that we have, or the worldview that we knowingly or unknowingly subscribe to. So what is worldview? Worldview is that knowledge which wherein the subjects of the cosmos are. So for example, does our worldview only have the elements which are perceivable to sensory organs? That means, do we actually accept certain elements which are not perceivable through the sensory organs or indriyas? Do we see this life as only one single life, or do we actually accept or feel to be legitimate that there can be previous lives and there can be even further lives? That is, do we actually subscribe to the notion of punarjanma? Do we actually subscribe to the concept of punya papa? Do we subscribe to the viewpoint of certain things being beyond logic? Do we actually accept certain values or certain morals as they are inherited or as we inherit them? and all these things. So these all elements are subjects to our worldview. So this worldview will determine the value system. So individually, each and everyone will have something different. There can be commonalities in their worldviews. There can be some unique aspects in their worldviews. And subsequently, based on this worldview, the values will also differ. So that is why, for example, if we have to take, there is this corporate giant called Sridhar Vembuji, who is the founder or the CEO of Zoho companies. So he gave value to live in a village or to live in his village and run an MNC. So his decision to shift from a metropolitan to a village and develop an ecosystem around that village, and even bringing the corporate ecosystem into the 2-tier and 3-tier cities, is based on his value system, which is based on his worldview. So this is just an example. So as we have to see the contemporary relevance of today, whatever we are going to talk. So the worldview is very much important for us. And this worldview is nothing but knowledge. And this knowledge is generated through different pramanas. So pramana is essentially the source of valid knowledge. The word pramana means. But we can a bit broader the aspect to say that any source of knowledge also can be considered here. So coming to Tarka Shastra, how does Tarka Shastra play a role in our worldview is what we have to today explore. So essentially, what is Tarka Shastra? Where do we map in the ocean of knowledge sources that we inherit in Bharatavarsha? So essentially, whatever knowledge source, knowledge stream that is prevalent in Bharat or is being sourced in Bharat is directly or indirectly based on it comes from the glacier called Vedas. So essentially, they are the 4 Vedas. There are 4 Vedas: Rig, Yajus, Sama, and Atharva. And I wish to bring to your kind notice that whatever the Vedas that are existing now or that are available for us are not the only source that is actually we call it as Vedas, but it is a very vast knowledge source. Over a period of time, a natural decline has happened, and many of those sources have been gone lost, and to substitute them, the other knowledge sources were developed. So we should not think that whatever today we are able to access the knowledge of Vedas is not limited to themselves, but it was more larger in quantity and quantity. And over a period of time, we lost them. And subsequently, the Smritis, Puranas, and Itihasas were developed, or they have emerged. We should say they should not be developed by intention, but they emerged over a period of time to substitute the knowledge. So essentially, whatever comes, whatever has been, whatever was emerged over a period of time is nothing but the essence of the same knowledge that was perpetrated by Vedas previously, which was lost over a period of time. So we have the Shadangas to understand the Vedas, we have the Bhashyas, we have Smriti, Purana, Itihasa, and we have something called as Shad Darshanas, that is in the Astika school. Even Nastika Darshanas also have an indirect relation to the Vedas, because they do not accept the authority of the Vedas, and hence they also have something to do with Vedas, because they have emerged out of rejecting the authority of Vedas. If there were no Vedas, There is no concept, there is no inception of Astika schools. So Nastika schools, Nastika schools. So Nastika is essentially dependent on the Astika literature. Rejecting the Vedas itself, they have started their worldview, perpetrated. They have started their knowledge sources and developed subsequently. So indirectly also, Nastika schools also are indirectly related to the Vedic literature. So in the Astika darshanas, we have 6 darshanas: Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Sankhya Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, and Uttara Mimamsa. And what is the commonality that we see in these Astika darshanas is that we have 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha as 4 pillars of our knowledge. And this is also one of the fundamental understanding which will actually, determine our worldview. The 4 Purusharthas. Whether we may know it consciously or not, our ancestors and we also inherit that legacy of life's journey based on these four Purusharthas. And in the recent times, we are slightly, getting derailed from this very fundamental aspects, and it is very much needed now that we actually again be conscious about these elements and again check our journey of life. So 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, and Kama, Moksha, and Moksha being the Parama Purushartha. And how to achieve that Parama Purushartha is through the Dharmika, Artha, and Kama. So Artha and Kama essentially is wealth and desire. And wealth and desire, if unchecked, it will lead to chaos. So in order to achieve Sukha, so Sukha is nothing but pleasure. Pleasure is something that every human actually, naturally will desire for. So anything that will lead to pleasure would be desirable for us. So whatever is the Ishta Sadhana is desirable for everyone. So this is a natural tendency of any human. And if this desire and the quest of pleasure is not regulated or is not checked for, then it will lead to not only personal chaos but societal chaos also, and essentially civilizational chaos. So in order to actually keep this in track, our ancestors or the Shastras have come up with the concept of Dharma, which is the regulating force. So there are many meanings for the word Dharma. That we'll also understand how Tarka Shastra plays a role in actually understanding the concept of Dharma also. So this Dharma, the regulating force, will regulate will lay the guidelines or guidelines, we can say, of how to actually achieve our subjects of desire and attain pleasure, which will actually lead to the eternal pleasure called moksha. So dharmika artha and kama, or artha and kama bound by dharma, will actually lead to moksha. So this is the common aspect that is prevalent among the Astika darshanas. They may explicitly state this or not, but the whole idea of this Artha and Kama bound by Dharma and leading towards moksha is the common aspect of all the 6 darshanas, because the ultimate achievable of any darshana is moksha. Though the definition and the path may differ in each and every darshana, but it is very much common. And all these Astika darshanas accept the authority of Vedas, Puranas, Smritis, Puranas, and Itihasas. So all the allied Vedic literature, or all the literature that is based on Vedas, essentially Smriti, Purana and Itihasa, or essentially Smritis, are definitely based on Vedas because they are called as Smriti. Smriti means remembrance. So, in order to remember something, you need to experience it first. So, based on which knowledge? That is, based on a prior knowledge that Smriti happens or remembrance happens. So, what is that prior knowledge? The prior knowledge is nothing but the Vedic knowledge. So, Smriti itself, by definition, means the knowledge source which is similar to the knowledge of Vedas is Smritis. So, Veda Pratipadya Artha Samanartha Pratipadakatvam Smrititvam. So, whatever is being conveyed by the Vedas, a similar meaning is conveyed by, and based on that Vedic knowledge, a similar meaning is conveyed, or the knowledge source which conveys a similar meaning is called Smriti. So, Smriti, essentially Puranas and Itihasas, also are considered to be authority in the Astika Darshanas. So, coming to Tarka Shastra, if we have to say the current topic, there will be 3 or 4, I would say, 4 words that come into the mind, which are at times used interchangeably, that are Tarka, Nyaya, Anvikshaki, and Pramana Shastra. So, we have the word Tarka Shastra being used in the sense of Nyaya Shastra. And in works like Artha Shastra, and even in Amarkosha, we find that Tarka Vidya is called Anvikshaki. And we have this tradition of saying if who could be when can one be called, or who is the greatest scholar among scholars, considered to be one of the superior scholars among scholars, is Pada Vakya Pramana Paravarinaha. These words are used. Pada Vakya Pramana Shastra Paravarinaha, if not. So we have essentially 3 important Shastras that were considered in the Sampradaya: Padashastram, Vakyashastram, and Pramana Shastram. Padashastram is Vyakarana, Vakyashastram is Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa, and Pramana Shastram is Tarka Shastram, that is Nyaya Shastra. So, Nyaya Shastra plays a very foundational role in the Shastric, Sampradayas. So, what is the word Tarka mean? So, Tarka, there could be many meanings, that as Akanksha, Vitarka, and etc. But we find this very much, which is needed for today's topic, would be Vyabhichara Shanka Nivartakaha Tarkaha is one meaning. So, that which will actually get rid of unnecessary, or the knowledge of fallacy. We can say reasoning is one. Vibhichara Shanka Nivartakaha, or Uhaha. Uha is again, Uha is nothing but when we actually use reasoning or logic, we assume certain situations. This assuming of certain situations can be called as Uha. So, this is one meaning of Tarka. And we have Nyaya. Nyaya is actually, the word Nyaya is seen in Vishnu Sahasranama. Agranihi Gramani Shriman Nyayo Neta Samiranaha. So actually the word Nyaya also means Vishnu Murti. But here we take another etymological meaning of Nyaya, that is Niyante Prapyante Vivakshitarthaha Yena. So through which we actually understand the desirable subject is Nyaya. Through a logical manner, through reason and logic, we do understand the essence of each and every or many subjects. And this source which will lead to the essential knowledge is Nyaya. So essentially it means Yuktihi, that is logic. And we have this Anvikshaki. Anupaschat ikshate Shravanadanu iksha Paryalocanam Prayojanam asyaha iti Anvikshaki. So Shravanadanu. So the source or through which we validate the preliminary knowledge is anvikshaki. So essentially, there will be different stages of knowledge. Different stages of knowledge. We have something very popular, this thing called as DIKW pyramid. That is data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. So the our understanding is four layered is what the contemporary understanding is. So essentially it will start with the data, then it will transform towards information, then knowledge, and then wisdom. So there will be different stages of our understanding. So anvikshaki is that source which will help us validate and delve deeper into our preliminary understanding. So that is anvikshaki, anuikshate, anvikshaki. And another definition given by Chanakya in Arthashastra is Sankhya Yogo Lokayataschet Yanvikshati. So an amalgamation of Sankhya, Yoga, and Lokayata. Here, Sankhya doesn't confine to Sankhya Darshana itself, but Sankhya means Sankhya Darshana and based on the etymological meaning of the word Sankhya, it also means Nyaya. Yoga means Yoga Darshana and Vaiseshika. Lokayata means the Charvaka Darshanas. So, an amalgamation or a group of five darshanas, four Astika darshanas and one Nastika darshana is Anvikshaki, is what Acharya Chanakya tells in Arthashastra. So, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Sankhya, Yoga, and Charvaka darshanas, group of them are called as Anvikshaki. And Anvikshaki is also used in the sense of Tarka Vidya. That is what we see in Amarakosha. And we have this famous shloka in Arthashastra, which Nitinji has explained in English, is Pradipas Sarva Vidyanam Upayas Sarva Karmanam Ashrayas Sarva Dharmanam Shashwat Anvikshaki Mata. So the importance and significance of Anvikshaki is explained by Chanakya. So this is about the Anvikshaki or Tarka Vidya. So how does actually Tarka Shastra play a role in shaping our understanding or our worldview? Is one, each and every darshana, most of the darshanas, I don't say that every darshana explicitly, but most of the darshanas, they come up with their own worldview in the beginning. So if it is Nyaya Darshana says that there are 16 essential padarthas, or this cosmos can be classified into 16 padarthas. Vaiseshika Darshana says it is 6 or 7 padarthas. Sankhyas come up with Panchavimshati Tattvas. Yoga doesn't explicitly explain, nor even Purvamimamsa. And if we come to the Vedanta, it says it is only the Paramartha Tattva is nothing but only one Brahman, and nothing else is actually Paramarthika. That is, if we actually truthfully have to see, there is nothing but Brahman only in this. There is nothing even called as Jagat. There is only one thing which is called as Parabrahman. So these are very much different worldviews, and we may at times even feel that they are contradictory, but I think they are not contradictory, but they're complementary, because our pursuit to understand the eternal truth doesn't start abruptly. It is very much gradual. So it starts from the leading us from the known to the unknown. So if we actually see the sampradaya or the tradition in studying the shastras, we start with the Tarka Shastra as the foundational shastra. Why? Because Tarka Shastra or Nyaya Darshana and Vaiseshika Darshana, they deal with something which we can relate very much easily. So they start with the materialistic classification of this cosmos, saying that there are 7 padarthas or 16 padarthas. And then they start giving definitions and etc., which will help us lay a foundation to the understanding of what this actually the world is all about, and gradually lead to more subtler and more deeper and abstract concepts, which will pave way to actually understand the true nature of our one's own self, and the whole worldview changes gradually while we actually pursue each and every Shastra and go further. But Tarka Shastra plays a very vital role in laying the foundation. So there are several methodologies that have been introduced in a very subtle manner. They are not introduced as if they'll be used everywhere. They'll not say that this methodology will be used everywhere. But after examining the other Shastra Granthas and deeper Granthas, we understand that there is a very common framework that each and every Shastra is following. And that framework, we find that the source or the intricacies and the nuances of that particular framework is essentially explored in Tarka Shastra itself. So one such methodology or framework would be the Uddeshya Lakshana Pariksha. So we have a threefold journey or three-phased journey to understand any topic. And for that, Nyaya Shastra comes up with a framework called Uddeshya Lakshana Pariksha. So the first thing would be Uddeshya, then would be the Lakshana, and the third one would be Pariksha. So Uddeshya is what? Uddeshya means Namana Padartha Sankirtanam Uddeshaha. So this is what the Nyaya Bhashya says. So essentially, first, in order to explore any topic, we need to first name it. We need to first know by its name. So Namana. So through name, Padartha Sankirtanam. So first you state what you are going to define and explore, validate. So first you state. So that is Uddesha. And then you define it, Lakshanam. You need to define. Everything is subject to definition in our life. What is good for you? It is what is good for you may not be good for me. What is pleasurable for you may not be pleasurable for me. So the definition of each and every aspect in life is different. Some may mean successful means earning a 6 digit or 7 digit salary, and for someone else it is something else. Staying with their parents could be successful, or being able to have a piece of land is successful for someone. So the definition of success is different. The definition of some may feel, job. What is the what job are you doing? So for them, job is, they have some definition in their mind. Okay, job means going from 9 to 5. You have to go to an office, do some work which you can do, and come back where you get a salary. If it is weekly salary, or a monthly salary, you will have dividends to it. You will have some increments and etc. So they will have all this in their mind, and then ask a job. What job are you doing? And when we answer something that does not fit in their framework, they say this is not a job. So their understanding of job is different from your understanding of a job. For someone, it can just be any source of income is job. Any work that will actually give you some income is job. So in this way, we see each and everything is subject to definition in our life. So the second phase is definition, that is Lakshanam. And the third one is very much essential, and which we actually lack. We lack the skill, is validate, which is called as Pariksha. So what is Lakshanam? Lakshanam is Uddishtasya Tattva Vyavachedakaha Dharmaha Lakshanam. So whatever has been first stated, defining it through the unique qualities of that particular thing is called as a Lakshanam. And what is Pariksha? Lakshitasya Yatha Lakshanam Upapadyate Naveti Pramanaihi Avadharanam Pariksha. So what is Pariksha? It is nothing but validating. You validate the particular definition that you have given through various means. Through the other means, you validate whether that definition is accurate or not, or whether that definition fulfills the objective of that particular definition. That is nothing but knowing the definitive or definendum, we actually say, the Lakshya. Whatever you are defining, you need to know, with clarity. That is the other purpose of definition. So there is a threefold method to actually inquire or to know or to express anything. So if we have to first know, or if we have to actually examine what actually is my worldview, you need to know, you need to first state what you actually want to know, like job or anything. Then you try to define it. Then you will get clarity about what your actually notion about that particular thing is. And then you validate it, whether this is right or wrong, whether this is contradicting with others' definition or not. So this is one way of doing. So this definition making, defining things is not an easy task. And very interestingly, this art of definition, how to make a definition, this methodology is not explored in any other shastras other than the Tarka Shastra. So Tarka Shastra has this unique subject of making, definition making. So in order to make a definition, we need to understand there are two entities. One is the definendium and the second one is definition. Definendium is nothing but that which is being defined, which we call it as lakshya, and definition, which is called as lakshana. So to know or to define first anything, you need to know what you want to define. So many a times it will be such that we don't know, we seek solutions to problems. But if we actually inquire a bit deeper, we understand that we did not define our problem itself. If we are actually having clarity about the problem, then the solution will emerge naturally many a times. So defining a problem is the first step towards finding a solution to it. So definition is very much essential in our life, whether it could be professionally or personally. Definition is very much essential, which will form the basis of our understanding and enhancing the understanding of the world, which will lead, as I said, to a more clear worldview, which will lead to a more defined or refined value system. And that value system will give you peace with whatever you are doing, and that will even give you clarity about what you have to do, what you want to do. The difference between what you have to do and what you want to do. You may want to do several things, but if you can actually understand the worldview, get clarity about your worldview and your value system, you will understand what you have to do. And when you start doing what you have to do, then life will be more peaceful. So coming to definition, so there is another this thing in the Shastras, Manadhina. Why definition is essential? Manadhina Meya Siddhi Meya Siddhishcha Lakshana. So Pramanadhina. So the knowledge of any subject in the cosmos is dependent on the pramanas or the source of knowledge. So that is the indriyas, the sensory organs that we have, the inference through inference, or there are verbal testimony. You know it by reading books, by listening to someone. So through various pramanas do we actually know about prameya, that is anything that we know, okay, the world. And meya siddhishcha lakshana, the clarity of or the essence or the precise knowledge, precision, the precision in the knowledge is possible through lakshana. You may know things vaguely, but until you know them through their definition, the clarity doesn't emerge. So Lakshanam plays a very important role in actually comprehending the world with clarity. And there is another saying also that Lakshanagno Nikrishtastu Lakshya cha madhyamaha ubhayam yo vijanati saha uttamaha iti smritaha. So in the Tarka Shastra, or sorry, in the Artha Shastra, Acharya Chanakya actually explains what is the purpose of studying Anvikshiti is Prajna Vakya Kriya Vaisharadyancha Karoti, he says. Prajna Vaisharadyam, Vakya Vaisharadyam, and Kriya Vaisharadyam. These three are one of the important outcomes of study of Anvikshiti. What is Prajna Vaisharadyam? Is having a superior understanding is Prajna Vaisharadyam. Prajna is nothing but knowledge. So this knowledge is twofold, two types: Sakhandopadhika Prajna and Akhandopadhika Prajna. So what is Akhandopadhika Prajna? So Akhandopadhika Prajna is very much relatable to us. There are many things that we actually experience, such as pleasure, pain, desire. So we experience many things, but we will not be able to express them, or we will not be able to define them without the help of the Shastras. If I actually ask any layman, what how do you actually can you define sukham, he can actually experience the pleasure or sukham, but it is very hard if you actually go deeper and think once what could be the definition of sukham or pleasure. It is not an easy task to actually define pleasure, but it may initially seem to be very easy task because day to day you actually experience pleasure and pain, but it is very much hard for you to define. So this knowledge, which is predominantly experiential and not expressible, that knowledge is called as Akhandopadhika Prajna. And Sakhandopadhika Prajna is that knowledge through which you can define things. And not that everything is experiential in our life. We do define things. As I said, why do you want to, what is a job to you? You say you can give a definition to a job according to your understanding. Whether that could be right or wrong, it's a different thing. But many a things we can actually define. What is good, what is bad. We have a common understanding of many things, which is nothing but defining them. So the ability of defining things is due to the Sakhandopadhika Prajna. So here it says that the previous shloka which I cited, that is Lakshanajnaha Nikrishtaha. So a person, so there are three kinds of people that can be classified: Lakshanajnaha, Lakshyajnaha, Ubhayajnaha. So Lakshanajnaha is a person who has a lot of ability to define things, but a lesser ability to experience those things which he can define. So we find normally that there will be teachers who will be teaching us morals, or there could be a moral science teacher who teaches morals to you. But if you actually go and see in his personal life, his or her personal life, he may not be actually following those morals. That means the knowledge is of morals is confined to book. So bookish knowledge, which we call. So many times we see people, we come across people who actually are very good at actually explaining, quoting from here, there, and all that stuff. But if you go and see in their life, we do not see that wisdom which is being explained by him, or which you actually experience at his lecture, do not reflect in his personal life. So this is essentially what is meant by Lakshanajna. That means who has predominantly Sakhandopadhika Prajna and a lesser amount of Akhandopadhika Prajna. Lakshyajna is that person who has lot of Akhandopadhika Prajna and a lesser amount of Sakhandopadhika Prajna. So these people are also a bit rare. So we see many people who actually experience, which we call it as beyond the sensory perception and logic, such as samadhi avastha and etc., which we actually only see their descriptions and their definitions in Yoga Shastra and elsewhere in the Hatha Yoga granthas. But we do not experience them in our day-to-day life, or it is very many people do not experience in their whole lifetime at all. The avasthas like samadhi avastha, which will be very vague for us, which will be only bookish for very people like who are not into that sadhana, who do not have. And there will be certain people, maybe by purva janma samskara and other things, without any effort in this particular janma, they do experience these samadhi avasthas. And lack of the training in the shastras, they'll not be actually able to know that this is samadhi, or they may know, but they'll not be able to explain to you how they actually feel, because they're only able to experience them, and they don't have the tools and methodologies to actually express them in the way they have to be expressed to the comprehension of the commoner. So this is called as Lakshya, who has predominantly Akhandopadhika Prajna and subsequently very lesser amount of Sakhandopadhika Prajna. And that person is considered to be superior who has both the prajnas, that is the Sakhandopadhika Prajna and Akhandopadhika Prajna. That is, he is called as Ubhayagnya. So this Anvikshaki, the study of Anvikshaki will actually, according to Acharya Chanakya, is that will essentially make the person initially Lakshanagnya. But the main objective of Anvikshaki is not confining the learner to Lakshanagnya state itself. So Lakshanagnya is the preliminary state, which is called as Adhama Sthiti. But through this Lakshana Gnya stage, after knowing things or are able to comprehend certain elements which are beyond our sensory perception and logic, through these means, through the sensory perception and through logic and reasoning, being able to experience the elements of Akhandopadhika Prajna and attaining the stage of Ubhayagnya. So the journey would start from a Lakshanagnya stage, will lead through the Lakshya and Ubhayagnya, is the main essence and objective of Anvikshaki, is what Acharya Chanakya means by saying Prajna Vaisharadhyam Karo. So what does this Prajna Vaisharadhyam lead to? So essentially, as I said previously also, our worldview depends, our journey of our life depends on our worldview, because knowledge is very much the substratum of every action. So whatever decision we take, or whatever we actually do, anything, any action, anything that we do, it is based on knowledge. As I said, desire is also so whatever, if we have to do anything, if we even have to eat every day, you need to have that desire to eat. That is why hunger at times is called as bubhuksha in Sanskritam. Bubhuksha is actually not hunger. Bubhuksha means that a desire to eat. Bhoktum ichha bubhuksha. So where does this desire come from? Can you form desire, or do you desire things that you don't know about? We didn't know. If you don't know anything, if you don't know that there is a metal called gold which is precious, or diamond, a gem which is called as diamond which is precious, you cannot desire that particular thing. So essentially action is dependent on desire, and desire is dependent on knowledge. So this knowledge is what we are now known as prajna. And this prajna is two types, Sakhandopadhika prajna and Akhandopadhika. Once if you actually have the prajna vaisharadhyam, the expertise in prajna, that will lead to what? Vakya vaisharadhyam. So that will lead to Vakya vaisharadhyam is nothing but clarity in expression. When can actually you explain or express things is when you actually know them. So Artham Buddha Shabdarachana is what the Shastra says. In order to explain any topic or anything to anyone, express, communicate, you need to know that essentially. Without knowing that particular topic, you cannot explain it. So this knowledge, this Prajna Vaisharadhyam will lead to Vakya Vaisharadhyam. So the more clear is your thought, the more clear would be your expression. What will this clarity in expression would lead to is Kriya Vaisharadhyam. So it will lead to an unambiguous state of action. So you know very much precisely that you want to do it and you have to do it, and you do it without any doubt in your mind, which is called as Nishkampa Pravritti. There is no kampanam, there is no slight, even doubt about whether you're going to do this or not. So there we do come across people who are full of determination and who are very much focused about what they want to do. They know what they want to do. Whether it's good or bad is a different issue. But there we do see people who are very much determined to do whatever they want to do. So this is what we call it as Kriya Vaisharadhyam. And if this Kriya Vaisharadyam is backed by Prajna Vaisharadyam, then that particular action is superior. So it is not that you are determined to kill someone unnecessarily, but you have to do because something has said, and now we see that very much in the world that certain communities, they are very much have the clarity about killing others. So this determination is a negative determination. But whatever Shastras meant by Prajna Vaisharadyam is that determination which will actually lead to your personal enlightenment. Not only that, which will strengthen the civilization also, is that determination which we are calling it as Prajna Vaisharadyam, which will lead to a very much Kriya Vaisharadyam. So this is one way of one of the outcomes of Tarka Shastra. And coming to definition, if we see, how do we actually know whether that definition is good or bad? So we have to, in order to validate, as validation or pariksha is also part of the methodology of examining things, knowing things. So in order to examine any lakshanam or definition, we have three fallacies of definition, which we call it as lakshana doshaha in the Shastra. So they are ativyapti, avyapti, and asambhava. So ativyapti is alakshya lakshanasya sattvam. So the definition which exceeds the ambit of the definendium. So as I said, there will be two entities. Well, we have to define. One is definition, and the second one is definendium. So let's say if I say that a mango is a fruit that is sweet and grows on trees. If I have to define a mango, so my definendium is mango. So how would I define a mango? If I define that a fruit that is which is sweet and grows on tree, it actually fits the mango. But is this definition very much precise, and is it falseless, or does it has any fallacy? I need to examine it. So if I examine, I will understand that there are other fruits other than mangoes, which are also sweet and also grow on trees, such as papaya. So this definition is having a fallacy. This cannot be a perfect definition. So this is alakshya. So the area, the definendium, the other entity other than the definendium, the entity which is other than the definendium, that is which we call it as lakshya bhinnam or alakshyam, that is the papaya. There also this definition is applicable. So what happens is we have a fallacy called ativyapti. So a definition will not be a perfect definition if it actually exceeds the ambit or the boundaries of the definendium. So this has a fallacy of ativyapti, and hence this cannot be a definition of a mango. And the other second this thing would be, the fallacy would be avyapti. That is lakshyayika deshe lakshanasya asatvam. So as I said, there will be something called as a definendium. There will be an ambit of the definendium, and the definition has to be applicable whole in the whole ambit of that particular definendium, and not only some parts of it. Like if I have to define triangle, and I say that a triangle is a polygon with three sides. So what happens is a polygon with three sides. So even though triangle has this this thing, but it does not actually fit in with only triangle. And another example can also be taken from the classical example would be, if I have to define cows, I say Kapilatvam Goho Lakshana. Kapila is that color which is very much unique to the cows. So those animals which have the color called Kapila are cows is what, if I define cows, it will have something called as Avyapti dosha, because there are other cows also which are not having the color called Kapila. So what happens is this definition of having the color called Kapila is confined to only Kapila cows. But my boundary or my ambit of the definition is the whole lot of cows that are there in this cosmos. So this lakshana or the definition is not being applicable in all the other cows, and hence it is having a fallacy called avyapti. And then we have the third lakshana, which is called as asambhava, which is lakshyamatre kutrapi lakshana sattva. The definition is not applicable even in one entity of the definition. Then that this thing is called as asambhava. If I say, if I have to define if I say that a square is a geometrical shape with 4 equal sides and a circular boundary, that itself is impossible. It can have 4 equal sides, but it cannot have circular boundary. A square cannot have a circular boundary. So hence this lakshana cannot be is not applicable in even one entity of the definition or even any entity of square. So this lakshana, this definition cannot happen. So that is why this is not a perfect definition. So therefore, what could be a perfect definition for a square is a polygon with 4 equal sides and 4 right angles. So this could be a perfect definition for a square. This is not having any of the aforementioned 3 fallacies in it. So if we have to actually see a bit more contemporary application of this concept called a definition, in the IPC, in the Indian Penal Code, now it has been changed, but I'm referring to the older penal code, where we had two sections called as Section 299 and Section 300. Section 299 is culpable homicide and Section 300 is murder. So what is a culpable homicide and murder? Difference between both. So a culpable homicide is that particular act which will lead to death of a person, and where this act is not a pre-planned. I'm giving you the summary of it. That is called as culpable homicide. And what is a murder is an act of which will lead to death of a person, which is pre-planned, which is intentional. So you first have an intention, you plan to kill someone, you plan to kill someone and you kill, then that is called as murder. And you did not actually plan to kill someone, it happened over a period of, maybe due to circumstances, and your intention is not there, or you do not have any intention to kill him, but it happened so that your act has led to some person's death. So this is called as culpable homicide. So culpable homicide will have a lesser punishment compared to murder. So this is the outcome of it. What will be the essentially the outcome is, if you are penalized with 299, you'll have a lesser punishment compared to 300. This is what is the scenario. But if you go and see the verbatim of the section, they are similar. A culpable homicide is whoever causes death by doing an act with the intention of causing death, is what we see. And murder, also we see the similar verbatim. An act by which the death is caused is done with the intention of causing death. So if we actually validate this based on that verbatim, both are similar, because both the sections state that an act which is leading to a person's death with intention is what is there common in both the sections. And that is why in order to differentiate culpable homicide from murder, they refer many judgments. So that is why, as this definition of culpable homicide and murder is not perfect, the law fraternity had to take lots of pain in actually defining and deciding what actually is culpable homicide and murder. And they actually refer to certain judgments and state, and at the end they come to this conclusion that an act which is not intentional is culpable homicide. An act of death, or which is leading towards death, with intention is murder. This we do not find in the definition or in the section itself. If we were to be authoring, or we were to be drafting these sections, and if we were trained in Nyaya Shastra, if we know the fallacies and whatever are the problems that may arise by defining, we could come up with a better version which will have lesser fallacies and more clarity, so that the execution of those laws would be much more easier. So this is one example. The other example can be taken from Companies Act. I've taken just an example where the Companies Act, the whole Companies Act will have the word company in it. So so that is why. And another thing is how definitions are important. If you go and see any jurisprudence, literature, anything that comes with any act, every act actually starts with a chapter called definitions, because definitions actually, because the whole document, the whole act will be using certain words which will seem to be common to us, but which are having very much specific meaning in that particular act, such as the word company in Companies Act. So if we take the Companies Act, and if you see, you have many a times the usage of the word called company, and that is why initially in the Companies Act you find the definition of company. What is a company? That is, company means a company incorporated under this act or under any previous company law. So we have essentially four company laws. That is the Indian Companies Act in 1882, Indian Companies Act in 1913, the Companies Act in 1956, and the Companies Act in 2013. So this under any previous act or the contemporary one, the company means that which has been incorporated under this act. And similarly, you even find book and paper. So normally, what do you mean by book and paper? A book, a piece of, a bundled pages into one particular, this thing is called as a book. Paper is a paper according to us. But in Companies Act, book and paper means different. So what is a book and paper? It includes books of account, deeds, vouchers, writings, documents, minutes, and registers maintained on paper or in electronic form. So this is the definition of the word book and paper. So what is this doing? This definition is actually confining the applicability of the word book and paper in common usage from the usage in the Companies Act. So this is how definition plays a very vital role in our understanding. And another this thing would be the differentiation between dacoity and robbery. If you see, again, coming to the law, this thing, jurisprudence. So what is robbery? Robbery is essentially, theft is called as robbery. But what is dacoity? So when five or more persons jointly commit or attempt to commit a robbery is called dacoity. So this is again a very, robbery is could be a single person's act of theft, or an act of lesser than five people can be called as theft, robbery, and an act with five or more people of theft can be called as dacoity. And there are different punishments to robbery and theft, and hence this is very much important. So in this way, each and every thing, if you see, this may be called as section in the jurisprudence, this thing. But as a student of Nyaya, I see this as a definition for dacoity. I see this as a definition for robbery. So in this way, each and everything is very much precise. It is precise to it, to the point. What is robbery? What is theft? There is a difference between robbery and dacoity. So this is how these definitions will actually give you a clear understanding of many subjects. Coming to the other aspect of the significance of Tarka Shastra would be, as I said, this DIKW pyramid. So data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. So data is nothing but raw, unprocessed facts without any context is called as data. Information is that data that's processed and given context. That stage of knowledge is called as information. Knowledge, the higher, the next superior stage would be knowledge, called as knowledge. Information that has been internalized and understood by individuals is called as knowledge. And wisdom is that ability to make sound judgments and decisions based on knowledge. So essentially, the first phase would be data, the second phase would be information, the third phase would be knowledge, and the fourth and foremost phase would be wisdom. So our crucial decisions in our life are based on the wisdom we have. So data is like you collect, many things, you are seeing 100 things. So you know that there are 100 things, but they don't have any, like you see, the temperature here and there. So if you can take a scenario, you see that, temperature and wind flow, something from a device. Okay, that is data, you take it. Then you give a context to it. So what is actually, you see the temperature has numbers, 31 degrees Celsius. So that is a number that you see in the temperature in the thermometer. And then you say that, okay, it is 31 degrees Celsius outside and wind is blowing so and so. And then this is information for you. You give a context to it. Okay, today this is the weather. And thirdly, you actually, then you process furthermore. Okay, so if this is the weather, this can be the outcome of it. So you try to use your logic and reasoning and then come out with an inference. Okay, it could rain tomorrow. And then you take a decision. Okay, if I am going out, I have to wear a raincoat or I have to take an umbrella. So this is a very day-to-day life example. Similar way, if we have to actually take what should be my journey, life's journey, what stream should I choose, after 10th or after 12th, what is that knowledge source or stream that I should actually choose? If your information and knowledge is confined to materialistic pursuits, that is, you want to earn more, you want a seven number salary and etc., or you want to earn this much of, I have to have a villa, I have to have so and so car and etc. by this age, so this I should be somewhere like this. And then whole your understanding would be what you call so that is why recently there was one comment made by Sridhar Vembuji that earning in share market is not a great achievement because it doesn't give you any life skills. So what is your understanding? Do you want to make money? If you have to make money, you can do option trading. That will also give you money. Yeah, there is a what you call a probability that you may lose also money similarly. But yeah, you can actually earn money. If your understanding and if your worldview is that earning money itself is the whole goal about life, then you will do anything based on that understanding and worldview. You take the decision of doing option trading. You may lose money, you may earn money. That's a different issue. But yes, your decision is based on that worldview and that wisdom of yours. So in the similar way, if you are learned if you are introduced to Shastras, and if you are introduced to, or if you are at least unknowingly also following the culture that you have inherited, that is the Bharatiya culture, you do inherit certain value systems, values that, Matradevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, Acharya-Devo Bhava, Atithidevo Bhava, and all these stuff. This can not be, it is not essential that you have to go through this textual knowledge, but you inherit them. You see that the elders are being venerated. You do also do that. You are celebrating all the other festivals, like we concluded yesterday, the Navaratris. You do it unknowingly or unknowingly, but after learning more, you understand that okay, it has a significance to it and you give value to it. So if you give value to Navaratris, what do? You take a decision that you keep all the other work outside and you confine your all activities around the Devi Archana and Sadhana. So that will give you pleasure because you're giving value to Navaratri, and your worldview, in your worldview, you're having a value to Devi Upasana. So all this thing is based on the knowledge. And similarly, there is another methodology which is called as Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. And Tarka Shastra plays a very crucial role even in this pursuit. So, Shravanam is the preliminary. I'm not going into the Vedantic perspective and the Shastric perspective, but I'm trying to contextualize it. So, Shravanam is preliminary knowledge. Mananam is the phase of processing that preliminary knowledge. And Nididhyasanam is meditating upon that knowledge, certain knowledge. So Shravanam, you take in much of information, you listen to this, you listen to many things. So you form a preliminary knowledge. Some say that there are Vedas, some say there are no Vedas, some say there is God, some say there is no God. You take everything as your preliminary knowledge. And afterwards, you start using logic and critical thinking and saying that, okay, do you actually subscribe to the authority of Vedas? Okay, so if you have subscribed, then okay, Vedas are saying so and so, so and so. Okay, so then based on that, you try to then critically analyze whatever your preliminary knowledge is. This state is called as Mananam. And that is what even the Shastras say, that Mananam Nama Hetubhihi Anumanam. So you try to understand, you try to critically question, think, and then come to a conclusion. So in this Mananam stage, Tarka Shastra is very much essential, because Tarka Shastra teaches us how to and what are the types of logic and what is the definition of logic, where does this is being used, and where can we actually use it in our day-to-day life. And then once you actually come to a conclusion and get rid of all the other doubts, then comes the stage of Nididhyasana, which is meditating upon it. So why this meditation is essential is because you need to internalize that knowledge and bring it to the level of experience. And that is when you become the Ubhayajna. So here also you see the underlying framework of the what you call the Lakshanajna, Lakshajna, and Ubhayajna, this thing. So there is another aspect of it. And another outcome that even Acharya Chanakya says, that Vyasane Abhyudaye cha buddhim avastha. So prosperity and adversity both have side effects. Some may think that success may not have side effects. Definitely, success will have side effects, because once you are successful, you are expected to be successful every time. So there will be pressure and stress, and there will be unrealistic expectations upon you, based on which again you may have some relationship strains. There will be ethical dilemmas, but because you have succeeded once, maybe in order to again maintain the same success rate or anything, you may have to derail from the ethical path that you have chosen. So you may have ethical dilemmas, and this success may even lead to materialism, that is totally thinking about life to be materialistic. And you may even what you call develop something called as what you call superiority complex. And then there will be this fear of failure is one another effect of it. So all these things, and you may as you are successful, you may think that you are so great, and you start becoming isolated by yourself, not by others, but yourself, and this will lead to social isolation. So these are all some of the side effects of prosperity. How does Anvikshaki actually then it is said that Anvikshaki helps you dealing with these side effects of prosperity, because you are logical, your foundation is logic. So you may be successful if you're logical enough to actually analyze your success. You know what are all the elements that have led to success. And many a times you may also know that it is not only the effort that you have put in, but there is another aspect, something called as a luck, which we call today, that could also be the catalyst in your success. So if you actually understand logic, and if you go through this thing, you understand that there is something called as a concept called adrishta in our culture, where we say that it could be the outcome of even adrishta, and hence you say that okay, it's not only because of me, because there are other elements such as Bhagavad Anugraha or adrishta and etc. And you are down to earth. It will help you to be down to earth. And definitely we see that adversity also has failure, has many, this thing, there is nothing to actually explain on this. So even in adversity also, when you have lost something, when you're in adverse situation, there also, if you can actually critically think, use the reasoning, you can understand that what actually led to this failure and come up with, you can understand them and overcome those those shortcomings and actually lead to a better life. So in this way, the understanding of Tarka Shastra will help you uh, maintaining your mental health also, which will lead to physical health. And but there is one small thing that we have to know, that pure logic, what we call it as shushka tarka, is not advisable. So logic which is accordance to the Vedic knowledge, Shrutimatas tarkon sandhiyatam, is what Acharya-Dr.J.Srinivas also says. So that logic which is in accordance with the Vedic wisdom is what we call it as Tarka Shastra, which will lead to the betterment of one's life and gradually to the societal well-being also. So yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad gurorev me nahi, yadatra saushthavam kinchit tan mamayva name guru. If there are any shortcomings in my lecture, those belong to me, and if there is anything value that you wish to give to this lecture, that belongs to my gurus and not myself. Thank you very much.